Weekly for Week 3 of the 2024 season. This is Nick, joined as always by Kevin.
What's up, Niner Nation?
Producer Brad, making it all go.
Hey.
And joining us this week, assistant coach Philip Cebuhar.
How's everybody doing?
What's up, Sebes?
Oh, not much. Just living the dream.
All right. Well, we got a lot to get through tonight. So we're glad you could take some time to join us. We're gonna have some fun talking Niner baseball and get everybody ready for the week ahead. So let's start with a quick recap here. Niners go 3-2 on the week. Midweek game against Davidson turned out to be a 24-1 final. And then the boys at home over the weekend against West Virginia split the series 2-2, dropped the first two games, and then bounced back and win the second two for a 3-2 week. Coach, let's go back. You're the hitting coach, so it's a great time to be the hitting coach to come on the show and talk about a game where you scored 24 runs. So let's just go ahead and give you a chance to give us your thoughts on that midweek matchup with Davidson.
Yeah, coming into it, we played Davidson in the fall, and we knew that we had them early in the season, and it was kind of a date that we had circled, to be honest with you. I think it's been 20 years since we've had a regular season game with Davidson, and it's a team that's close by us, a team that we're very familiar with, and coming off a weekend where we went 1-2, we just kind of wanted to go out there and play good baseball, take a lot of good swings on pitches over the plate. And, that's kind of what our game plan was going into it. We wanted to create momentum early, and, we told the guys going into it that we were just going to kind of create our own breaks. And in the first inning, it kind of just snowballed for us on the right side of things. And so, it was an exciting game. We got to see a lot of guys get in there top to bottom. A lot of guys got in the game, saw a lot of guys get some good hits, take some good swings. And, when you score more than 10 runs and you do that, you get more than that, it's even better. So it was a great game. Already excited about the next game against those guys because it was a lot of fun, and, hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, sometimes in an offensive game like that, pitching gets lost, but the guys on the mound pitched great. 1 earned run allowed through 8 innings. So guys on the mound did their job as well. So all around, great performance by the Niners on Tuesday. Yeah,
we feed off each other. When we get a good start out there, when, we score a couple runs in the first, you just feel the energy in the dugout, or on the defensive side of things. And, we were able to roll out there and get a 0 in the first, and then, we scored some runs, and it just kind of felt like our game from there. And so it was good to see those guys get out there on the bump and, fill it up and do their thing as well.
Trey Baker did end up getting the W with 1.1 shutout innings on the mound. 11 different guys got a hit in the game. Coach, I think I was thinking about this after the game. I remember, ironically enough, at Old Dominion where we go next weekend, where we put up 10 runs in an inning. In fact, in that inning, I believe in that 10-run inning, Josh Madole homered twice in the same inning for 10 runs. The second inning of this game, we put up 11 runs. What's the most runs you recall witnessing go on the scoreboard in one inning?
Gosh, I want to say it was the 11 last Tuesday against Davidson. I can't remember more runs in an inning than that. To be honest with you, I don't even know how many home runs we hit in that inning. Was it 3 or was it 4? Or maybe
3.
3. Yeah. It kind of, to be honest with you, it's kind of a blur at this point with having that many runs go through an inning. But 11's quite a bit. And, I don't forget that 10-run inning either at Old Dominion. Josh Madole, he's still in our athletic department, and we still talk about that inning all the time because he twisted up his knee pretty bad. I don't know if you remember that or not, Nick, that weekend. And he was wobbling around the bases like Keith Hernandez, and it was just great. And we still crack jokes about that weekend all the time.
Well, if your knee's busted up, if your knee's banged up and you don't feel like running, you just hit the ball far enough and you can kind of take your time with it.
Exactly. It's like the Old Dominion game plan: just get the ball in the air and let the wind tunnel go. No, that was a good day for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, 11 was so many runs that the scoreboard couldn't even fit a 11 up there on the for that inning. We had to settle for a 1.
That's right.
Hopefully we had to get a smaller font next time on that. But yeah, it was. I think we tied a school record with 3 home runs in an inning.
It was 3 out of 4 batters too, right? There were, I think, 3. I think it was a homer, an out, and then a homer and a homer. If I may have that wrong, but that's the way I remembered it anyway.
I think you would, if anybody would have it right, it'd be you, Nick.
No, that's not correct. But it seemed like it was 3 out of 4 guys homered in that stretch. But anyway, definitely 3 in an inning.
Yeah. It was that was a good inning for sure. I think there was, maybe how many hit by pitches we had. I think we had like 3 hit by pitches that inning too, and it just kind of momentum and snowballed and kind of went in our favor.
Well,
what was Kevin had a comment about this?
Well, when my son started playing kid pitch, they had a rule where if you hit 3 batters in an inning, if the pitcher hit 3 batters in an inning, you had to pull the pitcher out. The pitcher for Davidson hit 4 in the first inning, but I guess he eventually came out. But there aren't any rules in college baseball like we have in a little bit.
I like that.
It's a player safety rule, I think. More than anything.
Maybe we need to send that to Rob Manfred and get that passed in Major League Baseball and get the trickle down effect everywhere else. I mean, it is a safety thing. Rule. You hit 3 guys, I don't know what to tell you. You just don't have it that day.
Yeah. So a couple of things to talk about out of that game that we'd like your input on. So the game, we were anticipating that the run rule would probably take effect after 7. If we're wrong about this, the coaches have to agree to a run rule sort of at the plate meeting beforehand, right? And then it's typically 10 runs after 7. This game went 8 innings. How'd that all go down?
Yeah, there was, the agreement before the game was, there was a certain amount of guys that, each team wanted to see get in there, getting guys into games on both sides for us and on the other side. And, there was the agreement before the game that, once we got to 7 innings, if there was more runs, we just wanted to make sure that everybody had who they wanted to get in the game. And, it didn't happen in the 7th, but it happened in the 8th. And then we were able to kind of finalize the game there.
Now, the other thing that we wanted to ask about, and Kevin, what is it you always say, Kevin?
We like to bring people stuff that you can't find in the box score.
The stuff that you can't find in the box score. There's one thing that you will definitely not find in the box score, but we saw a picture of. Did we decide it was Thad Ector, Kevin, in the hat?
I don't know if it was that or not. I think it was.
Was it Renee?
I think it was Renee Lasters.
There was a cowboy hat with an all-NC logo on it. Now, we don't know anything about this cowboy hat, Coach, but we want to. We not only want to know about this cowboy hat, we want to know where we can get one. So fill us in.
So I had no idea what this cowboy hat was until the 4th inning of that Davidson game. You're going to have to ask Brandon Stahlman where that came from, because I was quite confused myself why a cowboy hat with the all-NC was in my little cubby where my batting helmet goes, but that was the case in the 4th inning on Tuesday night. So it took me by surprise too, but I think Brandon might be able to give you a little bit better answer on the origins of that hat, where that came from.
Well, ironically, we're going to bring Brandon in here shortly, so maybe that will get us the information we need on this cowboy hat, because it looked pretty cool. And I've never owned a cowboy hat, but I think if I did own a cowboy hat, it would need an all-NC on it, Kevin.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So if it was in your cubby, maybe it was intended for you to wear out there
That's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe I need to go take that and get a little hard hat underneath it and be able to go rock it at third base this weekend. Maybe that'd be the new look for me over there at third.
I think it'd be a good look. I don't know. We'll get Stahlman. We'll get Stahlman in here shortly, and we'll ask him about this cowboy hat, because inquiring minds want to know. Speaking of Stahl, he goes 3 for 4 in that game, including a grand slam. Brandon Homers, Carson Bain, Noah Furch, Caden Hobson, Relay Lastris, and Juan Correa all homer in that game, as the Niners win 24-1. We do have another matchup with the Wildcats coming up later in the year at Atrium Health Ballpark in Kannapolis. So tickets are on sale for that, by the way. If you're out there, you buy those tickets through from the Cannonballers. So if you want to see another matchup with Davidson, and who doesn't, go ahead and get your tickets on that. So let's change our focus from the midweek to this weekend. I think first and foremost, the thing that you could comment on, Coach, is coming into this weekend. This was originally a 3-game series, and I think it was either late Thursday night or I don't know. It was later in the week for sure, back half of the week. This game was announced as a 4-game set, and we played 2 7-inning games on Saturday. So talk a little bit about how that alteration of the schedule came about.
Yeah, West Virginia reached out to us and proposed the idea of going to a 4-game series. And originally we had 55 games on the schedule. So in Division I baseball, you're allowed to have 56. So we had room to add one more. And I know that they were maybe looking for 1 or 2 more elsewhere in their schedule early in the year. And for us, it was a no-brainer. West Virginia is a fantastic program. They're coming off winning the Big 12, being in the postseason. And we just knew that we wanted to play the best early. We want to play the best all year long, and we're never going to shy away from playing anybody. And so for us, it was a no-brainer. And luckily the weather cooperated, and we were able to add that second game in on Saturday and just play more baseball. And I think if you look at it, going 2-2 on the weekend, it was, certainly would have liked to win some more games, but, playing good teams, playing them early and often, as we did, it's only going to bode well for us as the season goes on.
So that opening game, and I agree with you. I mean, the scheduling philosophy you guys have is play anybody, anywhere. And so if you've got an opportunity to add another game, another Big 12 matchup is certainly not a bad thing. I mean, as opposed to, and no offense to anybody, but as opposed to like later in the season adding a midweek matchup against a local Big South school or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty easy decision to make, I think, to add a 4th game with West Virginia. So I'm glad it worked out. Now that Friday game, we can kind of work through that, but that was pretty intense matchup as far as the way it started, and then we fell behind. We launched a comeback, but what I saw, and I think, Coach, what people, fans look at scores and they react, especially on the internet, right? And that's what they do. But I saw with the Niners lose the game 12-8, but that game was completely attainable as far as a W. Nothing against what the Mountaineers did, because they took care of their business. But on the other hand, if we clean up a few things here and there, take care of our business, we can get that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Friday night baseball. It's really hard to win a Division I baseball game, but it's even harder to win on Friday night because you're rolling out 2 of the best pitchers on both sides. Everybody's throwing their best, and we ran into a guy that was really, really good. Quite frankly, he's probably going to be one of the better starters that we see this year, and we're able to fight. And one thing that I'm proud of with our guys offensively, we were able to get the starter out after 5 innings. We talk about that a lot, and we were able to work counts, get them to 100 pitches by 5, and it gave us a chance to win the game. Especially early in the year, you like to see small things like that because you want to get better, you want to do the small things right, and certainly there's things that we need to clean up and on both sides of the ball. But it was definitely an encouraging game on a lot of fronts for us.
Coach, offensively, that game out that Hector was 2 for 4 with a homer. He actually recorded a hit in every game this week, which is quite impressive for his first D1 action. Talk a little bit about Thad Hector joining the Niners this offseason, a new addition to the club.
Yeah, Thad's got a fantastic ability in the box. He's a fantastic athlete, and he's got a really high ceiling as a player and as a person. And his IQ has just continued to develop as he's been here at Charlotte. One of the big things with Thad that we've kind of worked on over the last few months is he went through the fall being one of our most patient hitters. A guy that almost took too many pitches. That's kind of been our niche over the last few years. And he also kind of was a guy that he was able to put the bat on the ball better than anybody on our team. And, as we got through the preseason, he kind of started having more of an aggressive approach, and, his number wasn't called opening day, but once he got in there, he took that aggressive approach and, he went with it. And, he's putting the bat on the ball all over the field, getting on bases, causing havoc and scoring a lot of runs. And, we're really, really pleased to see where Thad's at and the trajectory that Thad's on.
One of those, statistics do funny things, especially in baseball. One of the things I noticed about this is, even though on the pitching side you end up giving up 12 runs, but the pitching staff still recorded 15 Ks. So they were still, probably not the outing they wanted to have collectively, but they were still getting the job done as far as striking out batters, which plays in, Kevin, into what we were talking to Coach O about last week. I don't know if you heard any of that, Siebes, but we've stirred the pot again with the pitching staff and Coach O. I don't know. We're still waiting to hear, but we think maybe that the bet that Coach O kind of welched on last year with the hair, I think maybe it's going to be double or nothing.
I'd like to see that. I still give him a hard time about that blonde hair that was supposed to happen. I think we should still make that happen. I don't know if Coach O's listening or not, but maybe there might be some hair dye and some bleach in his locker tomorrow.
Kevin raked Coach O over the coals last week. It was a thing of beauty to behold. But Kevin really held his feet to the fire, and so 15 Ks on Friday. It just moves us that much closer to this double or nothing proposition. But on top of that, just some other notable performances there. Stahlman homers again in that game, 3 RBIs. Shane Taylor goes 3 for 4 and has with an RBI. That's another one of those new names. Taylor's going to be a sort of a regular at the top of that lineup. It's kind of like it's kind of like the gift from Moneyball. He gets on base. Shane Taylor, and he can do it all kind of ways. I think we've certainly seen Taylor hit. We've seen him walk. We've seen him get hit by pitch. He's one of those guys that just finds a way to get it done. Yes.
Yeah. He's a gamer. He's been playing this game for a while now. He's a seasoned vet. He's got a lot of games underneath his belt, and he just plays the game, and he plays the game hard. And it's something that he plays our Charlotte brand of baseball, and he's all over the field. He's all over the dugout. He's all over everybody. It's an exciting exciting style of baseball that he plays.
Yeah, and his folks were in town. He's from Las Vegas, and his folks were in town for the first time, I believe, this past weekend. So we got to meet them. That was cool. We actually got to meet a lot of people this weekend. The tailgate scene on Saturday, Kevin, was pretty solid. We're kind of having to rebuild out there a little bit, but at the tailgate on Saturday, Coach, we had an eclectic gathering of fans, families, students, I mean, it was just a meeting of the minds out there in the parking lot on Saturday morning. And even despite the moving game time, we still got going at 10 a.m. On Saturday morning out there. So
that sounds like
it was good. It was good. And so, well, if you're out there watching this and you haven't joined us on a Saturday tailgate yet, you just need to go ahead and make that happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. As I said, we just one student actually walked up, Siebes, and said, he came up to the tailgate. He said, "Are students allowed to hang out here?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely." So it's great. It was great. It was an eclectic gathering of folks, all wearing green. So it's good stuff. Now, with a day like you're going to have on Saturday, going in, you're going to play 14 innings. Do you guys change your preparation any in anticipation of a doubleheader like that, or is it pretty much just business as usual and you think about it as, well, you guys play 14 innings in scrimmages in the fall and that kind of thing. So maybe you just approach it in a similar manner.
Yeah, I think you mentally you change your approach just a little bit, because it's hard to win 2 games in a day. You're going to have 2 of them. You're going to have 14 innings, and you almost treat it like a sprint instead of a marathon, especially with games being shorter. The game kind of can speed up on some guys at times, on coaches, on players, on teams and clubs, and you just kind of have the message and kind of have the idea that once the game starts, like, you have a full tank of gas and you're just going until you're empty. That's what we preached to the guys on Saturday. And, I'd like to think that was a little bit of the reason why we had that push in game 2, and we just kept playing. And, we're able to, we didn't get it done in game 1. We left a lot of guys on base, but we didn't hang our hats, and we just kind of kept going and taking each at bat and each pitch for what it's worth. And we just left it all out there. And ultimately, we're able to pull out that win in game 2. And so for the most part, no, you don't change much, but you just kind of have an idea that you're going to sprint until it's over. You just kind of leave it all out there and see what happens.
Yeah. Offensive performances in the doubleheader. Lashes had a homer. Bain with a homer. Stahlman double. Hobson drove in a run, and we had a good outing from Cam Hansen in game 2. Tony Rossi coming in and closed it out. Lots of great storylines from Saturday. I know one we wanted to hit on again was the Tony Rossi. 3 innings out of the pen to shut it down. Shutout innings at that with 4 Ks. Talk a little about that from the dugout, what you saw on Saturday.
Yeah, how about Tony Rossi? I mean, what a story, what a human being, and we're just getting to see a really cool story start. I feel like we're at chapter 2 of a 50-page chapter with Tony Rossi, and just kind of the year that he's going to have, and the years that he's already had here, and kind of his story. And so him to finish a game like that, to have a little bit of adversity there, have some runners get on, and just kind of plow through those guys, and just the excitement out of the dugout, the excitement on him, speaks volumes. And we wouldn't have got to that place without the start from Cam Hansen too. Steady Eddie, going out there and mixing it and pitching like he knows how to do. And we felt that. We felt that offensively. Those guys throwing strikes, throwing up zeros, and giving us a chance to kind of get our bats going and get the runs that we needed to win the game.
As a guy that makes his living teaching people to hit baseballs thrown by pitchers, when you're watching Rossi carve people up like that, you got to be thinking, man, I'm glad he's on our side.
Absolutely. I'm so glad Tony Rossi's here. I hope Tony's listening, and I'm glad to hear it, Tony.
Yeah, because you would not. I don't think it'd be very much fun to try to coach guys to hit what Tony's throwing, because he's really, really filthy right now.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough at bat for anybody.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch. So you brought it. You mentioned it. Let's touch on it quickly here, because I'm curious about your perspective. in that game one loss on Saturday, we lose 8-1, but we leave the bases loaded a couple of times. I believe another time we had runners on second and third in scoring position and left them there. From a hitting perspective, like, is the psychology of that a little different? Is it just something about like that, mentally we've got to break through? Because you saw it, and I'll fast forward briefly to Sunday. There was a moment in that game which I thought was like, it was the key moment. We had the bases loaded, and Lastris hit a single with the bases loaded, and then everything unfolded after that. So it's like when you're in those situations, like what's the psychology of that when you're leaving the bases loaded and you're leaving runners in scoring position? Because it's got to become kind of obviously frustration is obvious, right?
Yeah, you just don't let it become a piece of your psychology, to be honest with you. The thing that we try to preach with our guys is just go up there and take your best swing regardless of the situation. Because I think when you kind of keep it at that, no matter if there's nobody on base, if there's a runner on second, if the bases are loaded, and if we've already left 8 or 9 guys on base, if your mindset's around taking your best swing and that you're convicted of that, you're going to take a good swing. You're going to take an A swing. And so, it is easy to fall into that trap. It's easy to kind of count the guys that you've left on base. And I'm sure I'm a victim of that myself, but it's how can we keep focused on what we can do in this moment and those best swings, and just having that mentality every single time we step into that box. And ultimately, it will break through. And then you never really, think about leaving the guys you left on base the last 2 at bats or the last game or anything like that. You just kind of keep going and keep putting your foot forward.
And one of those swings was an absolute laser beam by Shane Taylor down the first base line. And that was just unlucky. I mean, I don't know how he could have hit that ball any harder. But they hadn't played on the line, and first baseman made the play. I mean, if that ball gets past him and down the line, everybody's going to be running for a while.
Right.
You're going to get tired waving people home over there. That thing was going to roll all the way down into the corner by the batting or the indoor practice facility, and they made the play. I mean, you got to just kind of tip your cap and move on. But that was, to me, that was like a key moment. I thought, okay, it's on, because he really hit a laser beam, and they were just playing him down the line, and it made it happen. So sometimes it's just sort of out of your hands.
Yeah, it sure is. And, I think Stahlman had a knock had a line drive out too, and Hobson earlier in the game with runners on base. And yeah, you just keep preaching, you keep the guys up, you keep the ship from sinking, you just kind of keep the ship floating and going, and eventually it's going to break through.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see that, what you're saying. Both weekends, you kind of start out slow, you kept battling, got a little frustrated, but then as the weekend wore on, we started breaking through, and then we exploded for 2 wins on Saturday, or 2 wins to close the series out.
Mm-hmm.
With 3 runs in the game 2 on Saturday and 6 runs on Sunday. Yeah, you can definitely see a pattern. I guess tenacity to stick to itness to battle through that frustration, and continue with good at bats.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about Sunday, because Sunday wound up being fun. Sunday was a little lackluster until it wasn't. We fell behind again, and we're playing from behind. But the difference was this time we broke through, and once we broke through, we just kept going. I had a lot of fun watching that unfold from my vantage point. I can only imagine what that's like from your standpoint, as you could just see it happening. Mm-hmm. And we call it Hayes magic, right? Somehow that was going to work out, and ultimately it did. But tell us what you saw from your spot over there in third base.
Yeah, kind of like we've been touching on. I just saw guys going up there knowing and believing in themselves first and foremost, but also believing in the guy behind them, whether it was a hit by pitch, a long at bat, no matter who they brought into the game, it just was one guy after another, just chipping away. And, like you mentioned, we got the bases loaded there with Renee, and, he just poked something the other way and, kept it kind of going, slow burning. And then ultimately it kind of blew open when Sutrick kind of popped that ball, over the left fielder's head. And, it was just great to see. A big focus of ours, kind of going in the preseason was being better, with hit by pitches and making sure that we're holding our grounds. And, we didn't do a good job of that Saturday, and that was a message going into Sunday. And, we got two of those that inning. I think Stahlman had one off a left-hander, and then Hobson had one off David Hageman. And, it built momentum until we were able to kind of burst through. So, it was fun to see. And, it was fun to see whenever it broke through, the emotions of the guys, the excitement, everybody picking each other up, high five and hugging, it was really, really cool to see.
So here's let me walk everybody through, remind everybody what happened, because in the moment it's happening so fast that you kind of forget what all happened. So Shane Taylor gets the leadoff walk.
Yep.
Okay, how many great innings start? Go ahead, Kevin.
We're down 5-1 going into the bottom of the eighth.
Yeah. We're sorry. We're down 5-1. Great innings always start with a leadoff man on base. Taylor walks. Bain comes up next, and he lines out. But Taylor's still second. So now we got a man on second. Furch walks. So now we got two men on. Our guy Stolly gets hit by a pitch to load the bases. So now we got ducks on the pond. Lastris breaks through and just singles out there right. I'll tell you, Coach, and you might comment on this. I thought maybe you actually did send a second run home and then maybe changed your mind there. I'll give you a moment to comment on that here in a second, but I'd be interested to hear your thought process over there. But the bases are still loaded. Correa reaches on a fielder's choice, which brings another run home. Hop gets hit by a pitch. It moves Correa to second. And then Johnny Sutrick comes up, who already had a hit in the game. Freshman playing in his first non-conference schedule, his second weekend of baseball as a D1 athlete. Hey, I'm going to tell the truth about it. Everybody saw it. It was a pop fly to left field, and it was going to be an out, and that's that. But their left fielder, whether it's the Sun, who knows, whatever, he loses that ball. I thought he misplayed it off the bat, to be honest with you, because he started coming in, and then he realized he needed to go back, and so he backpedaled to where he started, and then by that time he just threw up his hands like, I don't know where the ball is. So I thought he kind of misplayed it off the bat, but then he just decided, I have no idea where this ball is. But despite the fact that dead to rights, Johnny probably should have been out there, pop fly to left field, he came out of the box like a bat out of hell. Because by the time that ball landed on the ground, Johnny was already rounding second, headed to you. He could have easily hit that ball and thought, well, crap, I just killed this rally. But that's not what he did. He came out of the box. He was almost to you by the time that ball hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great hustle play by Sutrick, because he could have kind of hung his head and been disappointed in his AB. Nah, he was too busy running, and when those events unfolded the way they did, he was in position to make a play.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a crazy sequence of events, and Johnny plays the game hard, and he was ready for that moment. No ifs, ands, or buts. He was ready for that moment. He went up there and took a good swing, and out of the box, he ended up on third. That just speaks volume to him and the way that he plays the game. Yeah, it was pretty cool sequence of events there.
And I'm not going to feel bad for anybody that says, "Oh, he lost the ball." We had one of those earlier in the series. I guess that was Friday night in right field. We had one of those, so now we're just even. And all's well that ends well. So the Niners come back and we go ahead 6-5. So on the Lastrus single.
Yep.
What was your thought process right there?
Yeah, so off the bat, it was a send off the bat. As the right fielder was coming in, I knew he was playing shallow to begin with, and I knew that he had an average to maybe slightly above average arm, but I felt something inside of me in a quick moment. It happens fast over there, just to kind of hold him up and let our hitters hit. I really didn't know what it was. It just was, I trusted the guy that was coming to the plate to keep getting the line moving, and surely he did. Luckily he did. It would have definitely looked stupid if I held him up and we didn't score any more runs, right? But that was kind of the thought process in half a second to hold Noah up.
You know why it was the right call, Kevin?
Why's that?
Because it worked.
Yeah,
that's right.
They call third base the hot corner, but the third base coaching box can be the hot corner, right? You gotta make decisions on the fly, and a lot of times it's a gut thing, like you're saying, it's a gut thing over there. You do a lot of research, and you know your arm's out there, but sometimes it just comes down to a gut thing.
Yeah, so it was the last thing to talk about on that. The last thing to talk about on the field with that game was that the pitching had to hold that game, because there was still the seventh inning was Adam Stanton threw a shutout inning in the seventh to keep us in it right there, and then another freshman. Johnny got the job done at the plate as freshman. Joseph Taylor, I got to tell you, I love what I'm seeing out of this kid on the mound. He's got that. He's got the attitude. He's got the swagger. He's what Kevin calls a bulldog. Mm-hmm. This dude wants to be on the mound, and he wants to be there, and he wants to get guys out. And he picks up the win by going 2 innings and striking out 3. That top of the ninth with him on the mound was electric, because he basically, you could just tell his body language, his whole attitude. He was like, "I'm not giving this up. This is ours," and that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was just out there doing his thing, ripping sliders, throwing changeups, throwing fastballs. He definitely looked the part of a sophomore out there. He did not look like a freshman. And like you said, the confidence and the swagger. And, JT's put in a lot of work since he's been here. And, just really, really proud to see the progression and the development that he's had, and, his ability out there on the mound. Excited to see what's next for him.
Well, the last thing to sort of put a bow on the weekend was the atmosphere at the Hayes all weekend. It was fun back and forth. Honestly, so Virginia Tech, Niner fans really showed out last weekend, and they were out again this weekend. West Virginia had a good group out. They have a large alumni base in the Charlotte region, and quite frankly, you see this when you don't. And they've had some recent baseball success. So they're very enthusiastic about baseball right now. And when you're I don't know, 5 hours away from Morgantown, et cetera, you don't get a chance to see your team. And if they come to you, you're going to turn out. So they had a great crowd out all weekend. Resulted in some fun back and forth at times. Maybe a few folks over there on their side kind of took it a little too seriously at times. But it's a game, right? It's a game. But what I want to call attention to is our students. Those boys in the gold mine, those boys and girls over there in the student section, they are freaking phenomenal. And the job that they're doing, if the opposing dugout is paying attention to you, they're not paying attention to the game as much as they should be. And those guys in our student section, CLT Gold Mine, I want to give those guys a personal shout out. I sit over there next to them, and they're just freaking great.
They are gold standard. They are absolutely crushing it. I mean, it's fantastic. We love every second of those guys and everything that comes out of their mouths. We feel that energy, and we feel that energy tenfold, especially when things start rolling. It's a lot of fun with those guys and girls there.
You know, Kevin, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't get. I mean, I guess maybe I get a little bit. I don't get the visiting fan psychology. I mean, I've been in a lot of other people's ballparks and basketball arenas and football stadiums, right? The one that always gets visitors to the Hayes is the left-right on the strikeouts. And that is so tame. But everybody, they're students. They are great student section. But it's almost like people come in and some people, it's like people used to think that Paul Buchanan used to show up there to taunt them. You know, and I would say to people, I'm like, guys, and that's guy for those of you who remember, he does this every weekend. He doesn't care that you're here. he would do this if we weren't here. You know, this is just what he does for fun. And to see people, that left right chant gets them every time, and people get fired up about it, and which just means they do it more. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, Kevin, I love it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's in basketball, when someone fouls out, you do that, and carrying that over to the diamond is phenomenal because there's less crowd noise, so everyone hears it. And yeah, it's just, I mean, the players here, and if they're leaving it, you're striking out and you're walking back to the dugout. They're hearing it. If you're a pitcher that's getting taken out, they're hearing it. It's phenomenal. I love it too. It's and it's educational. Some people will learn to left and to right.
I think that's true. Some people are learning. It's a Sesame Street moment. So it was fantastic. It was fun. I love the back and forth as long as everybody can keep it in perspective. But those students are doing such a great job, man. All those guys in CLT Gold Mine. It's just great to see. It's phenomenal. Can't say enough about it. So, all right. Well, I tell you what. Let's expand our conversation here. Why don't we go ahead and bring in the Niner shortstop, Brandon Stahlman. What's up, Brandon?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Man, we appreciate you making time for us. So what do you got? What do you have going on today? Did you have class today? If you already been to class, heck, I know sometimes you guys take night classes. Hopefully we're not keeping you out of class. I know we wouldn't be.
No, I don't have night class tonight. I got a good breakfast in, went to lift around noon with some guys, and then took some ground balls on the field, and then came home, had a couple more meals. So it's been a pretty relaxing day.
Awesome, man. Well, let's start with something. Let's start with like the obvious question, and then we'll kind of go from there. We moved you from third over to shortstop this season. I know you played some short back in JUCO, but how are you liking things over at short?
I like it. Yeah, I've always been on the left side of the field, and so I mean it's definitely different at each position, but I don't necessarily like one more than the other. I think they're both challenging, and like at third, it's definitely different. You got to be able to field the bunt. You got to be like aware of the plays that they might put on, but at short, you're in the game with just about every play. So I like the challenge that comes with both.
And the way we shift a lot too. Even last year, you're probably in that shortstop position quite a bit anyway. So you've been doing a great job over there this year. And today we got news that you made the AAC honor roll for your efforts this week. Had a great week at the plate, great week in the field, and congrats on getting recognition from the league.
Thank you.
So Brandon, we saw you drove in a ton of runs on your way to those honors this week. Saw you hit a grand slam. I mean, that's for a hitter. I mean, that's like the pinnacle, right? I mean, you're to hit a grand slam, drive in 4 runs. How many of those would you guess, like over your baseball career? How many times have you done that? Any idea?
I think that was my first actual grand slam. I know I've
Like
had
anywhere? High school, JUCO, nothing?
No, I don't think I've ever hit a grand slam before. I've had plenty of opportunities to, but yeah, it was pretty cool finally getting one out with the bases loaded.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. If that's the first one you hit, it's you had 6 RBIs on that against Davidson. That was we were tracking school records there. I think you were 2 off of a school record for RBIs in a game. So I'm sure you're up on the list for ribbies in an inning in 49er history. But it's quite an offensive spectacle we witnessed on Tuesday. Take us through that. We heard Coach go through it a little bit earlier, but take us through Tuesday against Davidson, all the offense that was produced.
Yeah, I think that was a credit to the whole part of the lineup. We were just seeing how many times we could get our best swing off. And, it's like when everyone's clicking at the same time, it's pretty fun to be a part of. Like, I know you mentioned that I had a ton of RBIs, but that just goes to show how many times people were on base and how many times I got the opportunity to drive in runs. It's pretty cool, especially I want to say one inning I hit around. I think I led off the inning, had another at bat that inning, and then I was like 3 or 4 batters away from getting a third at bat in an inning. So it's fun. It's fun being on the good side of that whenever the whole offense is clicking and you're just driving the ball. It's fun.
Now, you might have heard us talking about this. I'm not exactly sure at what point you came in, but we were asking Siebes about the cowboy hat. And he said that maybe you would be able to tell us more about the cowboy hat. So what's the story with the cowboy hat, with the All-NC, and where can we get one?
The cowboy hat actually came from Tony Rossi. I think he got it, or he spent a lot of money on it, actually. I think he spent like around $60 on it. I think he got it last year, and then he got the C from one of the old helmets, and so he glued it on there, and then figured it'd be a good prop for our home runs since we can't bring anything out of the dugout. So we could put it on in the dugout and celebrate with it.
So you hit a home run and you get to wear the cowboy hat.
Yeah, you get to put it on, do a little dance, and get in front of the camera a little bit.
So what I'm hearing is I'm not ever going to have a cowboy hat.
They need to start selling them. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go, entrepreneur. But it sounds like it's 101, and it's a Tony Rossi special. So maybe we can talk to Tony about making a couple for some fans up in the stands. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So are you required to do the same dance, or you freestyle for whatever you want to do?
You could freestyle. It's whatever you want. That's what I think. That's the beauty of it, is you put it on and then just break out your best move.
I love that. So, Brandon, let's talk a little bit about this year's team, and I say that from your perspective because, I mean, you're you're not only a returner from last year's team, you're a key returner from last year's team. So how would you describe the difference in the vibe between last year's team and the one that is playing now in this young season?
It's a different vibe. I think we learned last year we had a ton of returners. The lineup was filled with guys that have been there a couple years. And so for me, it was just seeing how the way they played. And then when we clicked towards the end of the season, and we found a lot of success in conference tournament, and then going into the Clemson regional, making it to the championship, for the guys returning this year, it was basically how can we get essentially a ton of new guys to be on that level from day one. And because we have a ton of freshmen, ton of transfers. And so it's just about trying to click as early as possible and, play with that energy, that fire that we saw in the postseason last year, from day one of the year. And I think we've seen that a lot with the games we've had, the really close games, being able to capitalize on what we do well and taking advantage of the stuff we're given from the other team. And we see that with, especially this weekend, the past few close games we've had. It's fun to be a part of, and I really enjoy it. We got a ton of hardworking guys this year, that want to all they care about is winning. And so, yeah, this team is certainly fun to be a part of.
It's fun to watch, and you can kind of see it, see pieces coming together, guys figuring out their spots, and then figuring out what's clicking. And it's definitely fun to watch from the stands. The team growing into a conference champion caliber competitive team.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Brandon, and this is a little bit personal. But since when has that ever stopped us? You really look like you put in your time in the weight room this off season. You've definitely added some muscle. So talk a little bit about your process and how that's gone for you, and the strength and just really the muscle mass you've been able to add.
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to Coach McKibben for helping me out. I know last year, you can ask him, it was when I first got there in the weight room, it wasn't new to me. I've lifted, my whole freshman, sophomore year and a lot in high school, but to have it structured the way he does, and from a week to week basis, and have different plans in the off season, the regular season, it was really cool. I saw a lot of growth, even during the season. I think my lifting partner last year was Spencer Nolan, and I think it was, I want to say right before we left for the conference tournament, me and him both had PRs in the gym, which is basically when you lift the most you've ever had. And it was we looked back and we're like, that's pretty cool doing it in season. Just getting to where your body feels good, good to play, and then working in the off season to build up the endurance to play a ton of games. I got to give a lot of credit to him. He's great at what he does. Donna's great, too, with all the treatment stuff. I see her just about every day. They want you to do is just be able to be the strongest and the healthiest you can be on the field. And I think this whole team takes advantage of that. And I know we track body weights each week as well, and it's for the most part, it's been going up each week.
Yeah, the physicality of this team, you can tell a difference for sure, especially in your game from last season to this season. In the summer, you had the opportunity to go up to the Cape. That's a pretty cool deal for a college ball player. Tell us a little bit about your experience up in the Cape, and did you expect to be a pitcher up there?
Yeah, the Cape was awesome. That was probably one of the most fun summers I've had. It ended up working great. Coach Sieb sent me a text, got me up there right around the draft. And then, when I got there, my host family was awesome. And then we were looking at the schedule, and it was maybe like 15 or so games that we had left. But luckily enough, we went all the way to the championship in a 3-game series, made it to the end. And so I was there a little over a month, got a ton of at-bats. And yeah, it was awesome. The atmosphere, the town. I mean, I think in the championship series we had around like 7,000 fans each game, and to just be up there and play with guys you hear of all year in college baseball and to compete against them, it's like, that's one of the really cool feelings. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And the pitching was pretty cool too. I know we were not, I think we were down like 10 or 11 runs, and we had like a 7-game stretch coming up, and then within the next week. And so our coach was asking like, hey, has anybody pitched before the position players? And one of the center fielders was like, yeah, I can pitch. And then I told him, I was like, I pitched a lot in high school. So like, if you need me, I can fill it up. Like I could throw a strike. And so I know the center fielder got in some trouble. And so he looked at me at third and gave me a nod, and I told him I'm ready to go. So I think the funniest part was they wouldn't let me throw it hard or throw any breaking balls. But I think one of the funniest parts was I got the first guy to like an 0-2 count, and then I heard their hitting coach on the other team was like yelling the velo to the guy on deck. He's like, hey, it's 72. And I was just laughing. I was like, you can see the wrinkle in the ball. I mean, I don't think there's any, you don't need a scouting report to tell you it's slow.
When you got back to campus, did you sit down with Woody and Coach O and like, hey, I mean, because I mean, you held them scoreless, did you not?
Yeah, it's 2 shutout.
So, I mean, you had to have the conversation when you came back, right? I mean, hey guys, look, I held them scoreless for 2 innings. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I told Coach O the first week to add me to the pitcher's plan.
Has he done that yet?
No, our pitches are a whole lot different than what I was throwing.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, let's do this since we got the both of you here together. Siebes, from a hitting coach perspective, why don't you break down Brandon Stahlman's swing and Brandon Stahlman as a hitter? Educate us. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so what you're going to get with Stahl every single time is a great at bat. He's going to work counts. He's going to be able to use all parts of the field. He can back up velocity to the backside, and he can use the right side of the field with breaking stuff. Brandon's swing, it's really long, but also short through the zone. So he's very quick to get into the plane, but he's also long through it. It's kind of something that, all good hitters have. They have a very long bat path that's very quick through, and that's something that, that Brandon has, and it allows him to, kind of like I said, play at all fields, and, he's able to handle a lot of different stuff up there in the box. And, when he steps up, he's going to give you quality at bat every single time.
Well, I think and I'm getting a little bit ahead here, but the thought just crossed my mind with what you're talking about. We mentioned that we're going to Old Dominion this weekend. ODU is a left-handed hitter's paradise with the jet stream out to right field, Brandon. So you got to be licking your chops a little bit with a trip to Bud Matheny Field coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I've heard a ton of stories about the guys that played there a couple years ago. So I think I've heard a lot from I guess Josh Madole had a crazy home run. I think Furman got into one too. So I heard about their home runs.
Well,
Yeah.
Mado hit 2 home runs in 1 inning. Furman, now, Siebes, I'll let you in. I was there. I swear that ball Furman hit bounced off the scoreboard and came back in. But when you walk out there to right field, that scoreboard is not all that close to the fence. So what I thought I saw, maybe I didn't. But in real time, Siebes, I thought Nate Furman hit homered, but he wound up with a double.
I thought the same thing too. I thought it was a clear home run, but we got told otherwise.
After walking out there and looking at where the scoreboard is, I probably didn't see what I thought I saw. But at the time, from where I was, I would have been, if it had been I don't think we had replay that weekend, but if it had been my call, I'd have been going because it sure looked like a home run.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I thought for sure it was. And just with how every ball was flying out there that weekend with the jet stream, I was convinced myself.
Yeah, but it's what they told you, Brandon, it's legit. We were talking about this a little bit before we came on. I've never been to a ballpark. The flag is out in right field. I've never seen a flag just stand at attention for an entire weekend. But I mean, you can count the stars and stripes. That flag just blows out, and the wind's coming off the bay, and it's coming from behind home plate and going out to right field.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty exciting.
It produces some interesting results because, one, you can lose balls out there with the swirling wind, but dudes, and they've done a great job in the past of recruiting left-handed hitters. Lefties want to go there because it's a great home ballpark if you're a lefty. So hopefully we'll be seeing you enjoy that this weekend.
I sure hope so. If our team can keep swinging it like we have, it'll be a fun weekend.
That's awesome. Well, let's kind of use that as a segue with both of you because we kind of need to start wrapping up here. Let's talk a little bit about the week ahead because we do have a midweek coming up Tuesday night at the Hayes against a 6-1 Wofford team. From the initial scout on Wofford, looks like they're on base team, a lot of speed on the base pass, play small ball. They're really hitting the ball well right now. Scoring, I believe they're averaging 12 runs a game, 7 games in. So they put up some runs. What can fans look forward to at the Hayes for Tuesday night against Wofford?
Well, we're going to play a very fundamentally sound club. Wofford's very well coached. They have really good players that fit their system. Kind of like you mentioned, they're going to be very fast, athletic, and they're going to do the small things right. It's going to be a game about fundamentals on both sides. We're going to line up against them, play our style of baseball, and they're going to line up and play their style of baseball. And, it should be an exciting game. Like you said, they're 6-1. They've won a lot as of late early in the season. It's going to be a good challenge for us to handle that type of ball.
Yeah, Brandon, I think that the key stat, if you haven't been handed this one already, is they've already stolen 35 bases 7 games into the season. So, be ready.
We'll be ready.
Yeah, be ready to put a tag down there at second base because they're gonna be looking to run early and often. So that game is at 4:00 at the Hayes. On Tuesday. So by the time you're watching this, if you watch it the day it drops, it'll be Tuesday. So it might be close to 4:00 already if you're watching this. So if it is, grab your keys and head to the Hayes for that matchup against Wofford. Then this weekend, looks like we got a time change. I think we confirmed that with Coach Siebes here. Friday at 2 at Old Dominion, Saturday at 2, and then Sunday at 1. They've come. Old Dominion's come out of the gate a little slow so far. They're 4-3. We're going to find out a lot about them on Tuesday night, I believe, because they are playing host at home to East Carolina. So Old Dominion is having AAC week in Norfolk, so they're going to take on the East Carolina Pirates on Tuesday ahead of our matchup with us. They're struggling a little bit at the plate right now. Old Dominion is, but they're at home, and it's hard to go into anybody's ballpark and win. Always, it's hard to win any D1 baseball game, like you said, Siebes. But they're definitely going to be looking to break out against us this weekend, and we just need to make sure we don't let them.
That's right.
Old Conference USA rivalry.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting one. Coach Finney and his staff. Even with the CUSA rivalry of 21 and even playing in 22. We're glad to keep those guys on the schedule because it's always going to be a good game, either up in Norfolk or down in Charlotte. So glad to keep that one going.
We've had some heat with them in the past too. I mean, not like in a negative way, but we've had some intense matchups with them. Between the dugouts, and it's fun. I was of the teams, Kevin, that departed and went to the Sun Belt early that year. That was the one that I was kind of disappointed to see go. I thought that was a good back and forth between Old Dominion and Charlotte. Of course, although Southern Miss left too, that hurt the baseball product, but. Marshall, on the other hand, left, and
Well, Old Dominion. I want to say Old Dominion had they were ranked and they came and played us. We were ranked at the Hayes of 21. That was a great series. Yeah. I think when we were playing 4-game sets at that point, we split.
Yeah,
we played them 8 days. We played them 8 games in like the span of 2 weeks. So that's like I think it started getting shifty a little bit by being 7 and 8.
Yeah, we played each other 8 straight games. You ever done that, Brandon? You ever played with the same team 8 straight games?
I think Middle Tennessee last year was it 5?
Yeah.
5 or 6?
You beat them 5 times in a row. You beat them 5 times in a row. I know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played a 4-game set here against Old Dominion, and then went straight there for the next weekend and played 4 again. And yeah, that was crazy because the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. And so that's kind of where it got to by Sunday for sure. And I think Siebes, that Sunday game, is that when Mado hit the 2 homers?
Don't quote me. I thought it was Saturday, but I know we scored a lot on Sunday too because that was a wild game itself. That that came down to a fly ball in left field that was misplayed, and it might have been Sunday, but I know Sunday was a high scoring affair as well.
Yeah, am I remembering that right, Kevin, or have I misremembered it?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
All these. We have played so many games against Old Dominion here and there that they all run together, honestly. And they've been some great matchups. So I'm sure it'll be another good one on tap this weekend. So, all right. Well, folks, I guess we're out of time. We've set the table for you about as well as we can. You've gotten some great insight tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. If you are enjoying this, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. That will notify you of new content as it comes out. You can also find us on Spotify and other major platforms where you find podcasts. Diamond Niner Report all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but never TikTok. Always, we love hearing from you folks. Reach out. We love talking to you folks. If you're old-fashioned like us, you just say hello at the ballpark, which we also enjoy. Come tailgate with us next homestand. That'll be fun on Saturday before the game. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. For Kevin, for producer Brad, for Coach Siebes and Brandon Stahlman, this is Nick saying we'll see you at the Hayes.